Did you see what happened in Loki? In Loki season 4? I mean, excuse me, season 2, episode 4, called "The Heart of the TVA," which is probably the best episode of the season so far. Now they sort of wiped out time. This is a spoiler, so don't be shocked when I'm saying things you haven't seen yet. But they just wrote Jonathan Majors out of the MCU. Did you see that? Now, as soon as he ran out into the temporal radiation to put the 3-point multiplier into the temporal loom and the this and the that and this and the that and the that and the that and the bug down in the Valio. Yeah, I mean the Rattling bug, whatever. But they just wrote him out of the show and the entire MCU. And they were kind of building towards that with Renslayer talking to Miss Minutes saying, "We don't need him anyway." So they already began the slide to not needing Jonathan Majors in the show. Now, again, I never discuss personal stuff regarding Ezra Miller. I never said what his their crimes were, and I'm definitely not going to talk about Jonathan Majors. But I was furious because Jonathan Majors is such a great addition to this series. He's the best part of the series so far. And I'm just going to say what came to me. Cowards. Now I'm not saying I'm correct by saying that. That was just my reaction. Cowards. Maybe they're doing the right thing with everything going on. I don't know. Or maybe everything with Jonathan Majors is on hold, but it looks like they effectively just wrote him out of the entire MCU. And it was up for debate whether or not he was going to continue on anyway, but sucks. But you got to do what you got to do. And Disney has stockholders to report to and basically obey, like the stockholders of the TVA or the timekeepers or whatever, and the all of Hollywood is the TVA or whatever. So whatever. Independent movies, you're the way to go. Forget Disney, forget Warner Brothers Discovery. Indie films all the way. The Creator, yes. Rebel Moon, yes. Forget this other stuff. Alright. But it's newsworthy, so let's get to the episode. What a way to start. Heart of the TVA. Okay. And when I was watching the recap, Heart of the TVA is something that Ouroboros said in the first episode. Okay. We arrive in the TVA. They show Victor Timely come through the door. Nobody else came. Now, I do believe that he did go in first, and I think that Mobius and Tom Hiddleston's Loki kind of went in afterwards because he had to, coddle Sylvie as always. So at the same time, B-15, the young Shirley Hemphill, I'm kidding, but she goes into the holding area where Judge Doc's the real villain so far that was bombing entire realities. Okay. She was visiting her and my least favorite character probably in all the MCU, Brad. What was an X5, a former hunter? They're in a holding cell. They have the little inhibitor collars. And B-15 says, "Judge Docs, I know you care about the TVA." Okay. And she's basically saying, get all your guys on board so that we can save the TVA. That's what that's what B-15 wants. So Judge Docs is talking to the rest of her guys. I don't know if we can trust her. No, she didn't say that. She says, but B-15 has integrity. Horrible Scottish accent. So while this is going on, Miss Minutes and Renslayer appear in one of those doors. And they basically say, join us or die. So they didn't say join us or die, but that's basically what the choices were. So they use that big vacuum machine. Miss Minutes activates it, and they form that big box, and they crush and kill Judge Docs and all her followers. But Brad sides with Renslayer because Docs and the crew, they didn't go for her idea of, they're going to let us, if we help her overrule the TVA, basically, you're going to let us live on our own branches. All right. Now, again, I don't like to retell the entire episode on these reviews, so let's just hit some points and then give my feelings, even though I think I gave a big part of how I was feeling about this episode at the beginning of this review, this recap, this recall, this retort. Okay. But it's something that I didn't mention last week. But Miss Minutes took Judge Renslayer to the Citadel of He Who Remains, which we saw in For All Time Always, the season 1 finale of Loki. And there we see the dead He Who Remains. And it's very ghastly. You know what I mean? Like it's creepy because this dead person alone. And I don't know if that makes it creepier, the fact that there's like nothing going on. There's nothing, and there's just this lonely corpse there. So then Miss Minutes replays something, and you see how He Who Remains sort of manipulated Judge Renslayer. All of a sudden, Judge Renslayer was in charge of the armies that Kang the Conqueror, He Who Remains, was using to fight the multiversal war, seems like. So, of course, Miss Minutes and Renslayer at the end say, we don't really need He Who Remains, because at the end of the recording, basically, that Miss Minutes showed, that's when He Who Remains said, erase all of their memories. Okay? And so now Miss Minutes is trying to team up with Judge Renslayer. So before she only wanted to be with He Who Remains, Victor Timely. But now all of a sudden she just wants to be with Renslayer. So if she already knew this information from the last episode. So now, I wanted to be with him, now I want to be with her. Whatever. So, again, the 3-point multiplier, they need Victor Timely's his like aura, to get everything going. Miss Minutes, when she returned to the TVA along with Judge Renslayer, she started playing haywire with all of the the devices, because she's like a AI basically, the operating system for the entire TVA. So temp pads aren't working, phones aren't working. So Ouroboros said, we got to reboot the system, but that'll also disengage all the safety protocols. And it says that it won't stop magic users from using their magic. And that's when Loki and Sylvie look at each other and say, reboot! So they can use their magic again. And Tom Hiddleston has some great moments in this episode. A little predictable, always coddling Sylvie, because it is himself. That's basically his vanity. She's me. So he wants to make sure she's all right. But they had a great line where he's trying to tell Sylvie about, and it's kind of just dripping with, redeemable qualities in the God of Mischief. But she says, so we're trying to play God. And then the line of the whole series, he says, we are gods. I was like, yes, Loki! Yes! So I'm still waiting for Loki to have an ace up his sleeve to be the God of Mischief and to turn this temporal crisis into something that can suit his selfish means. Because he wants to rule, Loki. Alright? He's just diverting a little bit character-wise, but Loki wants to be on the throne. Even if all of time crumbles. Lives, they don't care about that. Broxton, Oklahoma, 1982, McDonald's, he don't care about none of that stuff on these branches. He wants to rule. Which really didn't make sense, though, when you think about the finale of season 1. Where He Who Remains says, you and Sylvie can take over the TVA. Kind of safeguard it, kind of tend to it, to the sacred timeline, okay? And he said, run it how you want to run it. So he was offered a throne. But again, if Loki's playing the long game, to be Loki, I'm with it. Because when he addressed Sylvie, he said, we are gods. He walked out, he based her. I was like, yes! This is who I want to see. The God of Mischief. Loki Laufeyson. Okay? And as I said, part of the plan, why Victor Timely needed to be there, was somebody needs to take the 3-point multiplier, stick it into the temporal loom, so that the rings of the loom can expand to accommodate all these branches. As soon as I heard that, I was like, wait a minute. So they're allowing the sacred timeline to sort of just splinter into these branches? To me, and I'm not a supervillain in the making. I'm really not. But I was like, why are we permitting all these branches? I mean, now, maybe that tells you about me. Maybe I'm somebody that just likes order. Because all these branches just represents chaos to me. You know what I mean? So, and there are things like fate, free will. And if you have the free will to do these things, then you're not really deviating from the sacred timeline, are you? If it's fate. So that's basically what the series is about. Talk about tampering with time and variance. It's all about fate. anytime I hear fate, I just always think about Terminator 2. The only fate is what we make. Okay, I think Kyle Reese said that to Sarah Connor in the first Terminator. But Arnold Schwarzenegger. But anyway, so this was a very good episode, and Loki volunteered for the process. To go out into the temporal loom, fire the 3-point multiplier into the loom, and all that. But Victor Timely said he was going to do it. And so I was thinking, I said, this is where Victor Timely becomes Kang the Conqueror. I was like, he's going to see that he's the one that can control time, this time crisis, and turn it to his advantage, and he can manipulate time. And instead of fixing time, this will be the inception of Kang the Conqueror. That's what I was theorizing in my mind. As soon as he ran out the door, with the bulky suit on that Mobius had in the first episode, he vanished. He splintered. He ribboned, like John Krasinski's Mr. Fantastic and Doctor Strange: The Multiverse of Madness. And when I saw that, I said, they just wrote Jonathan Majors out of the series and out of the MCU. That's how I took it. Now, if he appears in subsequent episodes and projects, I'm glad I'm wrong, but I don't think I'm wrong. So basically, this huge, I don't want to even call it but it is an explosion because it's a force that's kind of consuming everything. And the episode ends very suspensefully, and everything just blanks out and it goes black. And for a second, I thought my the computer glitched. I was like, wait a minute. I was tempted, to touch the keyboard to see how much time was remaining, but I said, let me just watch this. And then the credits came up, and the music was very haunting at the end. And I think that was a great way to end the episode. I just hated the fact that they wrote Jonathan Majors out of the show. I hate that. But again, I'm not on the board of directors of Disney. I'm not their PR specialist. Disney's in a terrible place right now. Terrible. And again, it's not a Star Wars channel. But they had to close. It was a Galaxy's End or whatever it's called. The prices were skyrocketing. Disney Plus, the subscription has gone up in price while millions of subscribers have unsubscribed. So Disney is sort of like the TVA right now. It's bleeding. But I really don't think that Jonathan Majors' issues was lending itself to why Disney is collapsing. Disney is collapsing in on itself because of the bad stories. Okay. I'm not going to go into that. I'm not going to get on my soapbox. My soapbox is back there. All right. But as I said, this was a great episode. I'm going to give this episode an A-. Again, I don't know if this is minus, but this is A in sign language. I'm going to give this episode an A-. This was very well done. Jonathan Majors, I hope this was not the end of him or the end of Kang the Conqueror. Now, technically, you could have somebody else, cast as Kang because he can change his appearances and all the other stuff. You saw that in the mid-credit scene of Ant-Man and the Wasp: Quantumania. You saw those different Kangs showing up. But I want to see Jonathan Majors. He's a terrific actor. I liked how he was in these previous 2 episodes because the whole time I'm thinking, now when that hunter was drinking the hot cocoa and he started to just dissipate like he was being pruned, I said, did Victor Timely do this? Because the whole time I'm expecting Victor Timely to turn the tables on the TVA and become Kang the Conqueror. And when he disappeared, I thought Sylvie sabotaged him somehow because she has her magic abilities back because of the safety protocols being removed. And there was a lot going on. Like when Victor Timely stuck his head in the scanner, which probably felt weird, or whatever. And it said, "Welcome back, he who remains." When they said that, it was a wide shot, but you could see this indifference on Sylvie's face, like the name just sort of rang a bell that just made her really uncomfortable. And I was thinking, Sylvie's gonna do something here. So I thought that she sabotaged Victor Timely, because when the cameras were doing this, what happened? I thought I was gonna land on her and go, I did what I had to do. All right, but we'll see where the series goes because it looks like they just rebooted time in the whole Temporal Loom or whatever. So we'll see what happens next week. All right, again, A- for this episode. Heart of the TVA, terrific episode, kind of in the same vein as the first episode, Ouroboros. And this has saved the series as far as I'm concerned, because 2 and 3, they're all right, but to me, this, it started high, dipped, leveled off, and it's up again. All right, so we'll see what they do with Judge Renslayer, Ravonna Renslayer. Miss Minute seems like she's been deactivated. So it seems like the only people that are still in place is Brad running around with a pruning stick, who I can't stand. B-15, Casey, Ouroboros, our heroes, Mobius, Loki, Sylvie. But we'll see where we go from here.